What's up, guys? LQ here with the LQ Review. Thank you so much for joining me here at my YouTube channel. This is where we talk about all the geeky, nerdy stuff that we'd love to talk about. Movies, video games, comic books, and TV shows. And I've seen Alien Romulus. All right, so I'm a big fan of the Alien franchise. Alien and Aliens both kind of came out before I was old enough to start going to the movies, at least to see those kind of movies. But I grew up on them. I grew up watching Alien and Aliens, and me and my friends, we would play in the backyard, pretend to be colonial marines with our Nerf guns fighting imaginary aliens. That was part of my childhood. And when Alien 3 came out, I was about 11. My dad took me to see it, and I loved it. And I still have a fondness in my heart for Alien 3. But Dad took me to see Alien 3. It was the first Alien movie that I saw in theaters. And for those who don't know, my dad passed recently. So allow me to get nostalgic for a second. I went to bed that night. Dad comes in my room. He says good night. Closes the door. I roll over on my side. I start getting ready to try to go to sleep. And then all of a sudden, this man bursts into my room and runs onto the bed, and he just snatches me, and pretending to be an alien. And I don't know, just such a great memory, right? This franchise is so tied to my childhood, and it's so weird because it's, this R-rated, violent franchise, but it's so incredibly tied to my childhood. Alien Resurrection, I didn't really even like that one when it came out. AVP movies, nowhere near the quality of, in my opinion, the quality of those first three. Then you get to Prometheus and Alien Covenant. Again, not really to the quality of those first three in terms of entertainment. I think that, you could definitely say Prometheus is a better made movie than Alien 3 is. But I have such nostalgia for Alien 3 that I can't even put Prometheus ahead of it. So, Alien Romulus, yeah, I was pumped about it. Couldn't wait for it to come out because like I said, I am so tied to this franchise. I went to see it with my brother. We were sitting in the theater, and it was getting ready to come on, and I remember just looking at him. The opening credits were just starting. We were seeing space. And I remember just looking at my brother and saying, man, I hope this is good. And he said, mm-hmm. Man, I'm so happy to say that it is good. This is a great Alien movie. Now, don't get me wrong. It's not as good as Alien, and it's not as good as Aliens. It's better than Alien 3. If I were to do a ranking video, which doesn't sound like such a bad idea, I would put this at number 3. I loved this movie. In a lot of ways, it's a back to basics, right? In those opening scenes, we're seeing spaceships. We're seeing, the spaceship is going through space trying to find something, and it's beautiful to look at, but really you're hearing the sounds, right? The sounds are all, it's like being back in my childhood. The sounds, the look, the feel, the music, it's all perfect. So immediately I'm bought into this because it's transporting me back in a way that the other Alien movies since Alien 3 have not been able to do. It's transporting me back. And then what we get is a back to basics approach for an Alien movie, which again is what I've been wanting. I've been wanting to why can't we just have people on a ship with an alien hunting them? I've said that, and here we are. So yeah, I was all about it. Recently I watched, my son is 16, and he had never seen the original Alien movies, so I recently watched the original Alien movies with him as we were starting Aliens. Now, Aliens is one of my top 5-ish movies of all time. And when we started Aliens, I said, now I need you to know that it's like a good 40 minutes before we see an alien, or before we see anybody get attacked by an alien. And the obvious exception is, we were watching the director's cut. The obvious exception to that would be Newt's parents. And I told him, I said, we have 40 minutes of character buildup. And that means at the beginning of the movie, you're not getting a whole lot of action. And then I told him, but once the action starts, it doesn't stop. And when people die, you care about them because you know them. You're spending time with them. And that was one of the strengths of Alien Romulus, is, yeah, I didn't clock it or anything, but it must have been 30 or 40 minutes before anybody really got attacked by an alien. But we knew all the characters. So when the characters died, we felt something. Even the character that we didn't like, when these characters died, we felt something. Because we knew them. And that, to me, is a strength of the Alien franchise, is let's take time to set up who these people are and why they're doing what they're doing. And then when the inevitable happens, we feel something. It's not just a slasher where it's nameless teenagers. We actually know them and we feel something. I've seen some people criticize this movie as kind of a greatest hits of the Alien franchise. And in some ways that's true. There's a extended cameo that I thought made a lot of sense. There's some lines of dialogue that are repeated from previous movies. One of them felt a little forced, but the rest of them felt pretty natural. For the most part, I felt that the callbacks all worked to serve the story. The third act is bonkers. And I loved it. I thought that it worked great. This is pretty spoiler-free, but I will say that there's a callback to Prometheus towards the beginning of the third act. A callback that is so, it's very directly tied to Prometheus, to the point where the ship Prometheus is name dropped. We hear the theme song from, the score from Prometheus. So it's very much, Prometheus is very much part of the history of this film. And because of that, and because of the events that happened in Prometheus, I was able to really buy what happened in the third act of this film. It's not going to work for everybody, and I acknowledge that up front, but it completely worked for me. I thought the third act was bonkers and crazy and fun and great, and I just love the direction they took in it. It definitely explores some themes that were prevalent in Alien Resurrection, which I think is a terrible movie. But it also explores themes from Prometheus. So now, does this directly tie to the ending of Alien Covenant? No, it doesn't. We're kind of left to surmise what David did when he left on the Covenant. But I don't know that we need a direct ending to Covenant. I don't know. Maybe we'll get it one day. I don't know. We'll see. But all the callbacks worked for me. The third act really worked for me. This was just such a fun Alien movie. There is definitely opportunity here to continue this story, or they can do something else. And that's one of the really nice things about this as well. The standouts for me was the character of Andy. I believe he was played by David Johnson. Is that right? Andy was phenomenal. Andy had a great arc. And it's not a spoiler to say that he's a synthetic. It's out there. I think the trailers even alluded to the fact that he was a synthetic. But even as a synthetic, he had a great arc. And another standout for me was Isabella Merced. I really like her as an actress. I think she's going to be big eventually, but she acted her butt off in this movie. Out of all the characters in this movie, I feel like she was most put through the ringer. She had the most terrible stuff happen to her, and she sold the fear, she sold the despair, she sold all of it. So I really enjoyed her performance. The character that plays, or the actress that plays Rain, I forget her name off the top of my head, something Spainy. She did a good enough job. There are some visual moments with her character that's supposed to definitely invoke Ripley, especially a scene near the end that involves a turbo lift that clearly was inspired by Ellen Ripley. And the fact that it was inspired by Ripley didn't bother me, but I feel like this actress didn't bring the Sarah Connor qualities that this character kind of demanded. So again, it worked for me, but I don't know that it's going to work for everybody. This movie had plenty of violence, plenty of gore, but it wasn't really any more than what we've seen in other Alien movies. In fact, I'd say it's probably a little less than what we saw in Prometheus and Covenant. But it worked. There's nothing gratuitous about it. It was like, okay, the scene calls for some gore, we're going to have it. And they provided it. It wasn't like, well, it's been 10 minutes since we've seen any blood, we got to have something big happen here. I didn't feel like any of that was happening. It was when the scene called for it, we got it. There's no sex or nudity in this. There's a lot of language. And I gotta tell you guys, I can't wait to see this movie again. Can't wait to see it again. Can't wait to add it to my collection. This is definitely going in my collection, and I will be revisiting this film frequently because I really thought it was that good. So right now, it's my third favorite movie of the year. Dune 1, Deadpool and Wolverine, and Alien Romulus. And I think Alien Romulus is probably a better made movie than Deadpool and Wolverine. Just Deadpool and Wolverine was just so much fun. All right, guys. Have you seen Alien Romulus? If so, what did you think of it? Let me know in the comments below. While you're down there commenting, subscribe to my channel. And until next time, we'll see you guys later.